Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by. Tony here. Welcome to my channel. I want to thank everyone for stopping in. Tony's LPs are us, and we're in Studio B where we keep most of our Bond stuff and our Beatles stuff. Thus Studio B, right? But this is a review impression that I have of this record I received around Christmas, and that's Amy Winehouse at the BBC. Now I believe this was released late 2024. It's the first time it's available on record, on vinyl. It was released originally around November of 2012 as a 2 CD set and a 3 CD set, and this is the transfer of that to vinyl. I believe it's the whole 3D set, a 3 CD set. I don't believe it has any extra songs on it or anything like that. There is some indication that the CD had a booklet, but when I reviewed the booklet on websites such as eBay to see what it looked like, it looks like the booklet, which was a 20-page booklet that doesn't come in this. It appeared that those were basically the inner sleeves that come with this record, formatted for a 20-page booklet. But the inner sleeves are much nicer. I'm going to show you those. Now, this is a trifold. It's on black vinyl. You can see there. Really cool photos of the great late Amy Winehouse, who died about a year before, in 2011, before the CDs were done. So, very tragic death. She was only 27. Everyone knows Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse had such a unique voice that I was a fan of Amy Winehouse as soon as I heard her second record, which was released here. First record was originally released in the UK. Second record with Rehab and Back to Black and all those, that was on the airwaves constantly. I picked up the album, got some of her posthumously records later on, but this is the first time I have this. I do have a couple of DVDs that came out. One came out before her death, and one I'm not sure. I'm going to show the one that came out before her death. Like I said, she was only 27. She was on a rocket ship to stardom. She sold 30 million records. She became an instant millionaire after 3 or 4 years of once her contract got the records going, and she made it big in the USA. Like I said, you cannot go anywhere, especially on the radio or in different shops that played music, and not hear an Amy Winehouse song, especially Rehab, the videos and the awards. So it was a tragic death. And when I reviewed this record and I reviewed the DVD that I'm going to talk about, it really hit home, because she had such a unique, jazzy, bluesy, soulful rhythm and blues, reggae, ska. Her band was tremendous, and I'm going to talk about watching her perform and listening to her perform, and that's how I'm going to basically do this review. Now, on this record, it begins with something she did on the Jules Holland show in 2003 in November. That's when she basically broke, 2002, 2003. So we have here, first album has 5 songs, a few from Jules Holland. Side B has 5 songs from Hootenanny, later with Jules Holland again, and the Mercury Prize, which was another television broadcast. Side 3 we have 6 songs. Side D we have 8 songs. Side E we have 7 songs, and side F we have 7 songs. Now, a lot of music to squeeze in, because most of these tracks are probably, at least 4 minutes or so, 3 or 4 minutes. But I'm going to go over what I think about the records, and what I think about the sound, and what I think about the performances. But first, I'm going to show you the inner sleeves. And you can see the inner sleeves have the information of what you're about to hear on those particular records, which is cool because it's on the album, it's on the label, and it's on the inner sleeve. So you don't really have to look around. Whatever you pick up, you'll be able to see what you're listening to, or what you will be listening to. Here are a bunch of photos. I'm not a fan of the color scheme where they're not true color. They're kind of tinted in red or bluish, almost like a 3D, red 3D plastic. If you had 3D glasses and one was green and one was red to see that 3D image, these are basically the red. You can see some great photos of a young Amy. Like I said, these probably range from 2003 to 2007 or so. I think that's the range of these recordings. Just hold those up for a few seconds for you. And there you can see the tracks. And I believe these inner sleeves were kind of made into a little booklet that went into the CD box set. And I think that was 20 pages from what I read. I have not seen it. I have not heard it. Here you see some more photos. And here you have a picture with Jules Holland from Squeeze. He has a great television show in the UK. Not sure if it's still on, but I was a big fan of that show, watching it. Great performances. So many great performances of acts that we don't really know here in the States, that haven't really broken in the States. But Amy Winehouse broke in the States, and that was her dream. Her father said she loved to sing as a child. Him and her would sing. Her father was a taxi driver, and really close with his daughter Amy. She was at the show that I'm going to talk about, that I have on DVD. Here I'm going to show you again the back. I'll hold these up so you can see the tunes. If you want to actually freeze that, you could see where the tunes are from. I'm not a big fan of these type of live records that cut up live tracks and spread them out over, be it two sides or four sides. In this case, 6 sides. I'm not a fan of that. You don't get the continuity of the actual audience and the vibe of the band as they work their way through the set. So this jumps around. A lot of records here, a lot of tunes are repeated. Valerie, for instance, I believe Rehab, Monkey Man is repeated, which he usually closes with. Monkey Man's a great upbeat, like a Specials or English beat, ska. I love that sound. And that's why I think I was originally drawn quickly to Amy Winehouse, because I'm not a big, as you know from my channel, I'm not a big female vocalist fan. I have probably the majority of female vocalists because I collect records. But, to me, the new female vocalists mostly sound the same. If you're going to Janis Joplin or Chrissie Hynde from the Pretenders, I've got those nuances. Another favorite of mine, which was a UK-based performer from Ireland, was Imelda May, who really never broke here. But I found out about Imelda May through a Jeff Beck concert, and I started buying Imelda May stuff. So that's how I get turned on to this. But I've always dug Amy Winehouse, and I remember having the CD in my car constantly. Then I finally bought the vinyl. But here I'm going to show you the actual trifold, and the records slip into this end and in the middle and in this end. So I'm not really a fan of this format. And I don't know if I indicate this is on UMC. This has a date of 2021 on it. I believe it was recently released. I don't know how the copyright stuff comes out, but this record in some websites wasn't going to ship until 2025. So I'm kind of caught up in a lot of website misinformation or AI, and but I know this is the first time it's on record, so we're going to talk about how the record sounds. Before I do that, again, I'm stalling, right? I'm just going to show you one of the LPs. These are all the same, black vinyl, really nice red label that says Amy Winehouse at the BBC. And what it is, it's probably from 4 or 5 sources. And like I said, they're chopped up. Some of them are repeats. Some of them are, a lot of them are different. Here's the actual vinyl. It's on 180. The pressing was flawless, not a sound, not a tick, very quiet pressing, if that's what you want to hear in these reviews. So for that, it's a very quiet pressing. Tracks very nicely, didn't have any issues with that, cleaned it. The only issues I did have, if I'm going to go over issues, is that the records were placed in these sleeves, which could cause scuffs. It would have been nice if they did a poly liner, and it would have been nice if we got lyrics to these songs. I don't know if that's an issue because of the different copyright. Amy wrote most of these tunes, and some of the best tunes. For a person in her 20s to write those tunes about love that was lost, love that was regained, problems with addiction, problems with being a young girl in England at that point, a young artist trying to break out. She was originally into jazz. She would listen to show tunes with her parents, and then she would hear those show tunes played by, say, Oscar Peterson or Duke Ellington or any jazz pianist or whatever. And she got into that jazz thing, and she started to sing, and she could sing scat. I wish they had lyrics, because to be honest with you, some songs are difficult to understand. Some songs I know because I know them I've heard them so many times, but some songs are difficult to understand. She's also difficult to understand for an American guy like me. I'm sure if you're English, you could understand her, but she has that like a very deep British accent. And I know she unfortunately passed away in Camden Town, which is, I visited Camden, great area, which was young people, packed, record stores, pool halls, bars, pubs. So I wish they had lyrics, because I would love to see her lyrics. I think on her albums that I have, the lyrics are printed out. So that's a minor, critique. But the poly-lined sleeves would have been good, and maybe a little bit more information on the tracks and what her state of mind was when she did these shows, because she did a lot of TV shows. She was on top. Like I said, after a few years, she was a millionaire. Her record sold 30 million copies. Now I'm going to get to the music, and I put some notes here. And because these were all from a digital source, obviously a lot of these tunes that are on this compilation are from, I believe, released DVDs. Not the DVD I have, going to show you, but I believe Jules Holland DVDs, maybe some other DVDs at the Mercury place that I talked about. So these were the first time these were available on audio, when they were on CD in 2012, and then now at the end of 2024, first time available on vinyl, because everybody wants vinyl. Now, the one of the premises of what I'm trying to get across here is this worth buying on vinyl, or is it just worth getting the CD for about a third of the price? Now, if you're a vinyl collector, or you have to have the vinyl, then get the vinyl. But I'm going to talk about what I would do if I didn't have this now. Okay, so first time audio only release, 3 CDs in a Digipack. I believe that booklet was the inner sleeves, which I showed you. So when I first played this record, it was the first album I played. It was a triple album, so I played it the first time in its entirety. And as soon as I let the tubes warm up about an hour, I think, which is what my tube should warm up to. I listened to it, first album, really not impressed. Impressed with the performance, but not with the sound. The sound kind of sounded hollow, sterile, compressed. I didn't get those little nuances of where people were on stage. Stereo separation was kind of bland. Then I listened to track 2, side 2, sounded a little better as we get newer newer recordings. Only a few years, but could have been the source. Second record, thought it sounded a little better, but still didn't do it for me. It's not something I'm going to go back to. I love the performances. I love Valerie. I love Rehab. I love Let My Tears Dry on their own, or what. She did some covers, but the sound of the record didn't do it for me. Listening to album 3 through its entirety, 2 sides, still didn't do it. Monkey Man bounced around. Monkey Man's on here twice. So I really didn't get what I thought I was going to get from this vinyl. It sounded, like I said, it sounded CD. Like the dynamics on my system weren't there. I'm not going to discourage anybody from picking up the vinyl if you're a vinyl person, and on your system you may sound great, because I was reading reviews on Amazon, but the problem with reviews on Amazon, that it sounds great, it's great to have Amy on these albums. I believe they were talking about the CD. Same with Hoffman's website. A lot of folks loved it, but there weren't a lot of reviews, maybe 4 or 5 reviews, and people were talking about how quiet the vinyl was, and that there was a booklet in the CD. And that's when I did research on that, and I think the CD doesn't have a booklet that's any different from the inner sleeves. So let me just go over some of my notes here. The clapping I didn't like. The clapping sounded, on all the live performances, you would fade out to clapping or fade into clapping, and that sounded canned. It didn't sound natural. She started to do her little talk at the end of each song, or she would talk to the guest host. The guest host, as Jules Holland would say, Amy, that was Amy's got a #1 album out. But then when Amy came on, it would filter out. I would have loved to have a little bit longer segment where you get to hear Amy's great, innocent, true to life voice, because she was such a gem, such a treasure, and to hear her voice is almost as good as hearing her sing. Just to hear her comments, she's very witty. One of her comments on her live record is, this is our last song, and everyone goes, oh, and she goes, come on, haven't you ever been to a gig before where the artist always says this is the last song, and then they go out, they come back in, and they do a couple more tunes? So she's done that, and she's very clever for a girl that was 24, 25 at the time that live recording was done. So overall, it's a dead quiet album. I would give the performances a 10. I would give the recording an 8, but the sound that transferred to vinyl, I would give it maybe a 6 or a 7. It's not something I'm going to go back to. It's not something I'm going to play. Now, then I went back and listened to it again, which was earlier today. I listened to 2 records, and I let the 2s warm up a little longer. I played a couple albums before I played this album, and it didn't do it. It was still kind of sterile, if you know what I mean by sterile. It didn't have the dynamics. It didn't fill the room with sound. Amy's voice wasn't that prominent up front where it should be. Band-wise, performance-wise, I give it a 10 because her band cooks. Her bass player is unbelievable. He plays a bass like George, like Paul played. Her 2 backup singers are great. One guy jumps around like John Belushi with the thin tie and the black outfit and the hat like this. She has a great guitar player, 3 horns, 2 saxes, a trombone, another horn or trumpet. She has a keyboard, and she has a great drummer. So her band is tight. All young guys that were devastated when she was found dead at the age of 27, which was a real shame, and that was in 2011. But performance-wise, a 10. Sound-wise on the record, maybe a 7. Don't really dig it. So what I did was I dug out my, no pun intended, dug out this Amy Winehouse live in London, and this was recorded, I believe, at the Shepherd Bush Empire. And this runs about an hour and 10 minutes. It has a great documentary. It has some bonus tracks. But on here she does basically the same songs, except here she does Cherry and Hey Little Rich Girl, which I wish was on this record, because this triple record has a number of tracks that are duplicated, different performances, little different vibe to it, but they are duplicated. This one starts off with Addicted Just Friends and the song Cherry, that's not on here, but this sounds great on my digital system. I used a 5.1. You could do 5.1 surround, you could do Dolby surround, and I think those are the two choices. I don't think there's a stereo choice, but this sounded tremendous compared to the record. If I had this on record, I would be listening to that a lot. So I could imagine what the CDs sound like, because I don't have those, but I'm thinking the CDs probably sound like the record, because the record is definitely cut from the CD or that digital file that the CDs were cut from. So you're not getting any of that, I hate to use the term warmth, that you usually talk about when you're talking about records. That warmth, that analog, that organic. I don't get that with that, but I get that with this 5.1. I'll just show you the actual disc there. Has all the credits and things. Now, when this came out, Amy was still with us. So this sounds great, and what I did was I compared the songs that I could compare with the record. So you have Monkey Man, boom, better. Rehab, so much better. Back to Black, better. Valerie, I love. Valerie is probably one of my favorite Amy Winehouse's songs. So, hate to say it, I would not buy the album unless you're an album completist and you need to have all of Amy's stuff on album, which I understand. My pressing was cleaned. It was brand new. Like I said, I put the albums in MoFi sleeves so they wouldn't get scratched. Played a couple records twice. Gave the second hearing a little bit more. I was a little bit more open-minded. I thought maybe, it just didn't sound good. But this is something else I forgot to add. When I heard it the first time, I played the album through 6 sides, right? 6 sides, quite a bit of time, not sure of the length. Then I put on another record, and the record I put on was the B-52s from the Rock Lobster album, the Yellow album. Don't know the name of it. Maybe just the self-titled. And that blew this away. That actually sounded like something I would want to hear and something that would make me dance, because these are dance records. Amy's records are dance records, except for a few of her ballads, because they're ska, they're reggae, they're R&B, they're jazz, they're soul. She has the greatest voice for a little white girl who's about 100 pounds and 5'3", that kicks ass. And her songwriting ability was off the charts. So I was really shocked and really sad in that she died. She was also in line to do a Bond song, from what I remember. The Broccolis and Neon had her pegged to do whatever Bond movie was coming out in the next couple of years. She was pegged to probably do that. She was also great friends with Tony Bennett, who was so saddened at her untimely death, because he himself had a problem with addiction early on. He had a cocaine addiction, and they did a few songs together, and those songs were wonderful. But overall, I give the performances a 10. I give the sound maybe a 7. I give the recording, for what it is, 8, 9, because the recordings are good. They just didn't transfer properly from the digital format to this vinyl format. So that's it. 3-record set, maybe $60, $70. 3 CD set, maybe $25 on Amazon or wherever you buy your records from online or your local record shop. So if you want to hear the sound, like I said, the performances are great. It's great to hear Amy in these first-time audio only, releases. But if you're an Amy Winehouse fan, you most likely have the CDs anyway. So I would say don't really bother for the albums, unless, of course, you need to have it because it's Amy. But this is great if you get a chance. This is I Told You I Was Trouble, Amy Winehouse live in London. Really inexpensive, beautiful disc with a documentary, has her on it, talks about her early career, and it has some bonus tracks. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing and stay well, and we will see you later. Something big's coming up on the channel, so please subscribe so you'll be notified when that happens. Ciao.